to Wondershare Filmora. My name is Sylvia, and today we'll be talking about some of the basics of video editing, things such as adding and editing media on the timeline, as well as previewing the video you just edited. So let's go. First off, what is the timeline? So the timeline is this thing right here at the bottom of your screen, and it's like a storyboard that helps you arrange your video clips and image clips, audio clips, any media that you want. You can arrange it onto the timeline in order to create your final video. But in order for me to be able to explain how it all works, we'll need to add some things to the actual timeline. So if you missed our other video on how to import media onto Wondershare Filmora, you may want to watch that one first because that's kind of step 0 and this is step 1. So you'll need to have imported some media into your project already in order to add it to the timeline. As you can see, I already recorded the intro for this very video that you're watching. I used the record feature right here at the top. So I already have it here, and I can do this in 2 ways. I want to add this intro to the timeline, right? So I can click and drag, and you'll see like these black boxes show where it's going to go. Or I can just click the plus icon that's right here in the corner. And then in some cases, it will pop up with this message. This just means that the recording and the project are in 2 different formats. In this case, I will just keep project settings and I'll say, don't ask me again, so we don't see that message one more time. And there we go. We have our media onto the timeline ready to be edited. So as we've just seen, you can add your own media to the timeline to edit into your project. But Wondershare also has a good library of stock media right here at the top. So if you click on it, you'll see these different graphics and whatnot. You can even create AI images if you like. Let's see what I want to add to my project. Let's just add this bright yellow. I feel like it's a happy color. So I can add it right here. And now I have a yellow frame just in case I want to add anything up top. Again, everything's customizable and the only limit is your creativity. That being said, I did promise I would tell you a little bit more about the timeline once we had some media in, and now that we have it, let's first look into some of the tools that are in the timeline. So you'll see by default you have a video and audio track. In this case, since I already imported this footage, and this footage has a track for the screen recording as well as one for my camera, there are 2 video tracks and 1 audio track. But if you're importing a simple video, you may just have one of those. That being said, if we look right here onto the left on the actual track names, we'll see some buttons. So the first one of them is this little lock icon. So if you click on it, you will lock this layer, this video track, and essentially I won't be able to move around my camera anymore. And again, if I unlock it, you see I'm able to move it around once again. Let's undo that. Then you will also see, and this will be more relevant for the audio track or for a video track that has audio embedded in it, you'll see this next one that says mute. So you can mute an audio track or have it play. This can also be helpful if you have multiple audio tracks and you're trying to listen to a particular one. You can mute the other. For example, if you have voiceover and music at the same time. And last but not least, you'll see we only have this little eye on the video tracks. And that is because this one is meant to hide that video track. And audio, you can see audio in the video. So if I click on this, my little webcam goes away, and if I click back, it pops right up. So those are the track specific buttons. Now we also have some timeline little buttons. So the first one of them allows you to do a bunch of different stuff. So you can add a video track. You can add an audio track. So now we have a bunch of them. Maybe I want to move this up a little bit more so we can see them all. We can also delete the selected track. So for example, if I select this video 3 track, I can come right here and then click on delete selected track and it poof goes away. I can also come and delete empty tracks. So this will basically clean up your timeline so you don't have anything that's useless for you. So I can click on this and you'll see it disappeared with the second audio track because it had nothing in it. You can also delete all markers, and we'll talk about markers later on in this video, so I won't go into too much detail on that just yet. You can also adjust the track height. This is helpful once again if you have a bigger project with tons of different tracks. You'll see I just adjusted the height of this, but you can also come right here and say I want small tracks, so these are more condensed. I want normal tracks, or I want big tracks. These ones will be really, really in your face. You can also open Track Manager. So this way you can customize a bit more the tracks you want to add. So you can say whether you want to add tracks above or below the previous tracks you have. Same for the audio tracks. And you can also just say, lock all tracks. I don't want to make any changes. This way you don't risk losing the progress you made. Next up, we have the button to enable/disable the magnetic timeline. And what this does is essentially anything I add from now on to the main track of the timeline will automatically snap to what's already there. So if I want to add, I don't know, this yellow gradient, maybe, you'll see the black box shows again where it's going in a timeline, and you can see it automatically just jumps into what's previously there. Where if we disable it, maybe I want to add now the red gradient, you'll be able to add it further on into the timeline and it won't just auto snap. Now, another thing you can do is you can enable or disable the linking feature. So right now it's enabled, meaning the clips are linked together. So for example, if I move this video track, the screen recording, the webcam recording and the audio move along with it. Whereas if I go back and just disable it, I can move this one around independently and the other ones will stay put. Now, last but not least, we have the timeline snap. So if we toggle it on, you will see that when I'm moving things around, these vertical bluish lines pop up that help you align things together. So if I want to move these two and I want the end of these yellow clips to coincide with the end of the screen recording I just did, you can just move it around and it will auto snap. That way you know they end at the exact same time, so there are no time gaps in between. Now, before we go ahead and we learn how to edit the stuff inside the timeline, I want to show you one last thing, and that is how you can zoom in or out of your timeline. So you can have either a bird's eye view of all your project, or you can zoom in and really focus on editing a specific part. So I am working on a MacBook, so I can just zoom in and out with the trackpad. Come right here, open and close my fingers, and it will zoom in and zoom out. So if you're working with a trackpad, you can certainly do that. Another way you can do it is with this button right here. You have the plus icon to zoom in and the minus to zoom out, or you can just use the slider, or you can even use this at the bottom and just drag it around. But the coolest thing is you can come right here to this arrow button and you can click on it and it will automatically fit your timeline to your screen. So you can see it all and you can detect any mistakes or anything like that. All right, so now that we've learned how to work around with the timeline, let's learn how we can actually edit the media inside it. So first things first, let's just right click on one of these media files and you'll see it pops up with 1,000 different options. And don't worry, I will guide you through all of them. So the first one we see right here at the top is cut. And if you click on it, you saw it just disappeared from the timeline. And what it did was it deleted a file, but it made a copy onto the clipboard. So now we can come right here on the timeline. So let me move this little red cursor around and I can hit, right click once again and click paste. And there it is. It just pasted what's on our clipboard. Another way you can use paste, by the way, is you can come right here and copy. And you're likely familiar with this, but you can just hit paste again and it just pasted what's on the clipboard. So the difference between cut and copy is when you cut, it deletes the original. When you copy, you get 2 copies. Now, speaking of 2 copies, you can right click and duplicate something. That way, it does the same as copy and pasting, but it's just one step. Now, another thing we can do, obviously, is now that we have 2 copies of each one, maybe I want to delete this. So right click, hit delete, and it will delete it. And as you saw, it just created a gap. But if instead I click on ripple delete, it will skip that gap and bring it all together so you don't have to adjust it manually later. Next up, if we move this little cursor to somewhere in the middle of a clip, let's say right here, and we right click, we can hit split, and that basically just splits that clip into 2 so you can edit it to your heart's desire. Another thing you can do, and for this I'll actually show you the example with the intro I just recorded. So as you can see right here in the audio track, I just start speaking at this point. So I will move this little red cursor to the beginning of me speaking. And what I will do is I'll right click once again, and I want to hit trim start to playhead. So the playhead is this little red cursor that I've been talking about. And what this does is it will trim the beginning up until the red cursor playhead thingy. All right, so as you saw, I just clipped the beginning of it, and same thing for the end. If I bring this around to here, let's say, I can just right click and say trim and to playhead, and then I can just make those edits to the video clips. Another thing we can do is we can crop and zoom, and for this I'll show you with the screen recording video. So we can hit crop and zoom, and this opens up this new window for you to be able to crop to your heart's desire. Maybe I want to zoom in to this little Grow with Filmora creator in the middle. So maybe I want to do that, and then just hit apply. And as you can see, it just zoomed into that and cropped the rest of it out. Now, if we right click again, we can see we can actually rotate it 90 degrees at a time. So maybe I want to have this upside down for some reason. You can do that. Or if you want to be even more specific, you may want to watch our other video on the Video Basic tab, where you can rotate it to your heart's desire, whatever angle it is that you want. Now, another thing you can do, let's go back maybe to this yellow gradient. Let's right click once again, and you can actually rename your clips in the timeline. So let's say I want to rename this to be gradient yellow. So I know if I have multiple colors, this one's the yellow one. I can also tell it to disable this clip if for some reason I want to maybe try the video without that clip, but I'm not entirely certain, so I don't want to delete it just yet. You can hit disable, and as you can see, it just grayed out. And it actually won't show up when you preview the entire video. So you can watch it and see if you really need that clip or not. Now going back, we can actually also select clip range. So what this will do, as you can see, it just selected the timeline from beginning to end of that clip. And you can actually use this to maybe export just that part. Maybe instead of editing it out, maybe you want to just export that part and then export the rest separately. Maybe you want to use it in a short or a TikTok, who knows. We can also right click and ask for it to locate this media file in the resource panel. So as you can see, it just showed us where the original file for that is. So maybe I did some edits and I can't go back, can't undo that far. I can go back and find the original file. Even though I actually renamed this, it was still able to find the Gradient 3 original file we had. Now, a thing that I find really fun and really good for larger projects, once again, once you're working with multiple media files, multiple video tracks, everything like that, and it starts beginning to look like craziness, you can actually right click and color coordinate your video files or your media files, whatever they are. So let's say I want to make this one blue and this one blue as well. And this one I want to make yellow. This is an ugly yellow. Let's see. Let's make it orange. And once we do that, we can actually, let's say we want to select all blue clips. We can hit select all clips with the same color mark and it will find all blue clips and I can actually move them all together. Now, that being said, as you keep on editing and you work on more projects, you'll likely want to save time. And for this, you'll want to learn some of the keyboard shortcuts. Now, there's plenty of them, and I do not think you should learn all of them at once. You may want to focus on 2 at a time or 3 at a time and focus on learning the ones you use most often first. So let me actually show you some of the ones I use most often. First things first, you want to learn how to save real quick. So you can hit Command S on the keyboard or Control S if you're on Windows. Every time I say Command, just replace it for Control if you're on Windows and you'll be fine. So as you can see, when I hit Command S or Control S, it pops up with this little quick window and says it just saved. So this way you don't lose track of anything in your progress, because trust me, it sucks when you're editing for so long and you forget to save. Maybe you run out of battery or for some reason your program crashes. You don't want to lose all your progress, trust me. Now, another thing you'll want to know is how to go back when you do a mistake. So maybe I clipped this too far and I want to go back. Command Z will undo whatever it is you did, so you can go back and correct your mistakes. Now, if you want to copy, paste, and cut like we saw before, you can actually hit Command X to cut. We can hit Command C to copy and Command V, maybe right here, to paste. We could also hit Command D to duplicate. Now to delete, because we just added too much stuff here, I want to clean it up. We can select whatever it is we want to delete and use backspace if you're on Mac, or this one's actually different on Windows. You can hit the delete key on your keyboard and it will delete whatever it is you're trying to delete. But let's actually move back and show you a different delete, the ripple delete that we saw before. You can just hit Shift and backspace or delete key and it will ripple delete, so it will keep everything together. Now, if I want to select the entire timeline, maybe I want to push it back or push it forward, I want to click Command A and this will select everything I have on the timeline. If, say, we want to group all these yellow pieces together, we can hit Command G and it will group them. So now if I move things around, even if they're not all selected to start off with, they will all move with each other. If I maybe want to add a marker, I typically use these as I'm editing to know where I want to add text in later, or maybe I want to add a GIF or a B-roll clip, whatever it is. I just hit M on my keyboard, and as you saw, I just added this little marker right here at the top, so I can add as many as I want. Now, what I just told you are the default / regular shortcuts, but you can learn all about the rest of them, if you come right here at the top to File and you come to Keyboard Shortcuts, here you can learn all the shortcuts, and they're, separated by category, and you can even replace them. Maybe you don't find Command N to open a new project. Good for you. You can say maybe Command J, and that way you just created a new keyboard shortcut. And maybe if later on you regret that, you can just click right here in the arrow and it will revert it back to normal. Another thing you can actually do while you're here is you can switch to another shortcut preset. So maybe you're used to editing in Premiere or Final Cut. You can select those right here and you'll have the shortcuts for those apps that you're already used to. Now, last but not least, I did tell you I wanted to show you how you can preview your actual work, your actual video. So if we come right here, you'll see these buttons. So we have play, we have stop. That brings us back to the beginning. We can move forward or backward 1 frame at a time if we want to maybe keep track of a particular animation. Now, the shortcuts for these are spacebar to hit play and pause. You just hit the spacebar and it will play and pause. Now, if I want to quickly preview my work and I do not want to be clicking play and pause all the time, I can just come right here to this little eye icon and hit it. And now you can see I can preview everything just by dragging my mouse around. And now if I disable it again, I won't be able to do that anymore. Now, if I want to watch it in twice the speed, I can hit L once in my keyboard to watch it at once speed, and I can hit L once again to watch it at twice the speed to get through it quicker. I can also, as you can see, this isn't the best quality preview, and it's fine if you're just wanting to quickly preview as you're editing. But if you want to give a final look, you may want to render your preview. That way you can see it in full quality. And of course, once you've edited everything and previewed everything and everything's to your liking, you can just hit export and export your project. And we actually did a video on that as well, so go check it out if you have any questions. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching and happy editing.